right, friends, today is your last video of Miss Mickey teaching you fluency. You can cheer a little bit. Yay! No more fluency boot camp. All right, so today we're going to dive right into something that is really important when we are reading fluently. So remember, we've already talked about pace, and that's how slowly or quickly you read, and you want to find that just right speed so that you can read to understand it. We've talked about phrasing, which is about how you read a chunk of words at one time, and then it helps you understand the sentence as a whole. And we've talked about expression. Now, when we talk about expression, we talked about having feelings or emotions. So if we have a sad story, maybe our voice is a little bit lower. But if we have an excited story, we have our voice a little bit higher and a little bit more, happy. Maybe your face actually smiles when you're reading it, okay? Now, the last thing, punctuation. So I know that we talk a lot about punctuation in writing. And when we write, it's really important to use the right punctuation so that the reader knows how to read that sentence. So when we have a punctuation mark, that means something like a period, an exclamation point, a question mark, or something like a comma, okay? So there's a lot of other kinds of a lot of other punctuation marks that you're gonna learn about this week, but those are the big ones, okay? So when we see a period at the end of a sentence, that just means the sentence is over. It's just a fact. It's just something that you want to end a sentence and end that idea. There isn't anything super special about that sentence. When we have a question mark at the end, like, where did you go? Your voice kind of goes up at the end of that sentence so that the people know that you're asking a question, okay? But then my favorite one, and the one that I kind of get, like I'm a stickler about it with you guys, is when you have an exclamation point at the end of your sentence, it means your voice gets louder. You're a little bit more excited. If I say something like this, hey, stop, my voice is loud. My voice is higher because it's important for people to listen, because maybe there's something dangerous happening. Maybe they're about to spill their juice all over the carpet. There's a lot of reasons why you might put an exclamation point at the end of a sentence. But if you don't say the exclamation point and you're gonna drop a whole thing of orange juice all over the carpet in our classroom, and I say, hey, stop, you probably wouldn't even look up. You probably wouldn't even notice that I'm trying to get you to stop so you don't spill the juice all over and we have a big mess in our classroom, right? There's one more mark in our stories, in our writing, that we don't really use a lot when we're doing our writing yet, but you will when you go to middle school, but it's a comma. A comma is that little curve that goes on the bottom line that tells you to take a breath. So if you have a really long sentence, or you have a phrase that needs to be separate a little bit from the rest of your sentence, you're gonna just stop and take a breath. So if the sentence is, once upon a time there was a princess in a castle, there's gonna be a comma after once upon a time. And when any Disney movie opens up, there's always that person in the background, the narrator, that says, once upon a time, and then they stop for a second. And then they say, there was a princess who lived in a castle far, far away, something like that, okay? So that's just a good tip to know that you need to stop for a second and take a breath. It doesn't mean you just keep going and reading super fast. You do need to take a break and stop, okay? So I'm going to read the first paragraph of our story for the week. And this week it's called The Milk and Cookie Culprit. So this is all about, I'm not gonna tell you what it's about. I'm just gonna read the first paragraph. What I'm not gonna do is I'm not gonna read it with any punctuation. I'm just gonna read the words, just like some of you read when you're doing fluency checks with us, okay? Kelsey and her friends Ben and Julia over to play. They were outside on the swing set in the backyard. Kelsey's mom poked her head out of the door. I'm going for a walk, she said. Your dad is upstairs and the puppy is inside. I don't know how many sentences that was. I didn't stop to take a breath. I don't know what's really happening. So when I read it with punctuation marks, let's hear the difference. Kelsey had her friends Ben and Julia over to play. They were outside on a swing set in the backyard. Kelsey's mom poked her head out the door. I'm going for a walk, she said. Your dad is upstairs and the puppy is inside. There were commas, there were periods at the end of sentences, and it makes it a little bit easier for our brain to understand that idea, that sentence. So it's a different sentence when they say Kelsey had her friends Ben and Julia over to play than when mom is talking about the dog being inside and upstairs, right? So we just want to make sure that when we see those little dots, those little punctuation marks, periods, exclamation points, question marks, commas on that bottom line, it's really important to stop and think, how do I say that? Okay, so you're going to get jumping in with your reading teacher. The reading teacher is going to ask you to read a story today, just like you've been doing, practicing it over and over again. And then you're going to work with this story this week, the milk and cookie culprit. All right? All right, my friends, I'm sad this is our last Fluency video, but have a great week with Fluency, and I can't wait to see how much better you guys are going to be and how much smoother you guys are going to be when you're readers. Okay?